Okay, wait, Joe. First of all, it's a pleasure to disagree and talk to you. I mean, you're I like to find people I can disagree with, and also that are not jerks. Um, and it will also be blunt. I mean, if you had to make if you had to err on the side of being blunt, maybe I would think you're a jerk. I feel you would do that. You also feel you probably I would never think that. Um, so well, now I'm off on a tangent. I'm feeling better, but I'm still well, I'm not on the meds except for the amoxicillin. So, but still I'm a little absent-minded. Went off on a tangent there. I'm sure you and I could get in some argument. I could think you were a jerk. But the point is, I don't think that now. I think you're interesting to talk to, that we're disagreeing. I appreciate that we can be blunt. That's what I was trying to say. Now, the thing is, I've watched two of these videos, and I'm going to watch a third. But I want to say, okay, first of all, I think you're making one of the hugest, grossest linguistic mistakes that mankind makes all the time. Okay, if take, I pull two leaves off of the same tree and I go, look, these two leaves, they're the same. Maybe I even pick them so that they're as similar as possible. They're not the same. They are two different things. They are two different things that occupy a different space. They're using different materials to exist, or they consist of different materials. They're not the same. I call them leaves. I've given them the same name, but that's not the same. You know, just because I'm calling them the same. You know, I intend to put them to. Maybe they're bay leaves. It's like either one of these could go in the soup. Hell, I'll put both in. I love bay. But they're not the same. I just have categorized them the same. Okay? They are unique. Okay? But at least I'm justified because they do share qualities, sensible qualities. That means qualities that other people can perceive. You know, the smell and the texture and the color of that bay leaf. Other people can perceive and say, hey, these are both high quality leaves for the purposes of cooking. These leaves are the same. You give me either one. I do not care. They are equivalent for my purposes. They're not actually the same. Okay, but they share qualities, so good. They're with shorthand. You say, well, they're the same because we're just assuming these qualities of what we're planning to use this thing for. All right. Now, in the case of the unknown, it's much, much worse. We have infinite unknowns out there, a whole complex of details. If you want to say one big unknown thing, fine, but there's all these kinds of details. And you're going to say they're all the same. They're all the same thing. Actually, that your own self is the same as this thing, which to me, those you already have things that show there's a difference, but whatever. Because you called them unknown. And suddenly they're essentially the same. Because you put a word based on your lack of knowledge. You don't even have properties. I mean, at least with the leaves, it's like, well, I got some properties to say they're the same. You know, I got an argument. They're relatively the same, meaning they're similar, meaning I can find the relationship between. You can't find the relationship between two unknowns except for that you don't know them. How arbitrary. It's not even human. It's totally solipsistic. The fact that you don't know them made them the same. Think about it. So two things I don't know, two parts of the unknown I don't know, those are the same. Even if somebody else knows one of them and not the other. I mean, there's no difference. This is very much a language game when you're talking about identifying things as unknown. This is when you need to remember that your words are categories, they're not essences. Something, of course, is not essentially unknown. It's unknown or not unknown or blah, blah, blah. It has no, that label is just a category, very temporary, like a temporary variable. You know, to put that as a category that everything should go in. Okay, the other deal is this void. I don't believe there is a void. And I think it's funny. And I've been put under too, so I know what it means to have this discontinuous experience. And think about that. Think about that. Obviously, during the experience, you don't know anything. And when you wake up and you go, ooh, you don't remember a void. It's not like, I remember for an hour it was just dark and nothingness. And if you did, it wouldn't be a void, huh? Would it? It would just be a black space with your thoughts. The void isn't black. Isn't it funny how we use tangible, real world metaphors? It's black, it's dark and cold. No, it has no temperature, it has no color, it has no touch, it has no. The only reason we want to call that a void when you put under and you come out and it's like, wow, I have 8 hours missing. Why do we want to call that a void? It's because as humans afterwards we have this fetish to say, well, it was something. Something was happening and to me, and it was empty. So it was always the dark void. But in reality, what I experienced was a discontinuity. When that happens, when you're put out that deep, it's not like sleeping. Anybody that hasn't had it happen, you've probably heard though. It's not like sleeping, where you kind of at least have a sense of passage of time, and that you were sleeping. Maybe you did or didn't dream, but you kind of have this sense. It's not like that. You put to sleep. And count down from 100, 99, 98, and then the next thing you know, you're like waking up. And the space just did not happen. It's a discontinuity. Okay, and we rationalize. Our intellect puts back on top of these perceptions of a discontinuity. Well, there's no discontinuity. I was in the void. But we have to use real world metaphors like it was dark. We were afraid of this void. Hey, we've never experienced this void. Nobody's experienced this void or anything like it. And the fear of it, and the picturing of death is that kind of a void. This is all a lot of creative fiction by human beings. It has nothing to do with anything we've experienced. We do not experience voids. The concept of a void, again, is to explain the unknown and try to give a picture on the things we can't know. If I had a picture of the unknown, it would look just like a void of black darkness. No, if you had a picture of the unknown, it would look like the thing that you don't know about yet. Like an unknown person, it would it would look like it won't look like the void. The unknown isn't a thing. The unknown is a name that you need so that you can learn. So you don't want to get too in love with the unknown as something you embrace. Yes, and there's a known, and it's my essential characteristic. Because where can that lead? Does that lead to knowing? To want to know more? And maybe it does. And this is the thing I'm going to say about these. I think a lot of these kind of Eastern spiritual ideas, at least when you see them in their Western version, there is, as I've been saying, I think, a misunderstanding of cones. See, the cone idea of putting these logical contradictions or just as a certain kind of, it's a glorious kind of nonsense that is created. And I know when you think these things, it's like a meditative thought. You can put your brain into it's not that the sentence is true, it's that if you run it through your brain goes click, 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 and sort of can click out of gear for a while. And people need that. I'm a relativist, so I have all kinds of ways to kick myself into another point of view, right? I don't even have to kick myself. It's like I've told you before, I have the five, Greco-relativism, the five Greek schools of thought. I can always generate opinions, put myself in another frame of mind there. There's the artist and the engineer kind of dichotomy, based on the two hemispheres of the brain. I can always try to, wherever I'm coming from at a particular moment, I can always manufacture those two attitudes, try to push myself into. And I think these cones are a great way to do it. I do. I love to, in the Western versions, I've thought about the liar's paradox. This sentence isn't true, but if it's true, you can go through that a long time. And it can be very refreshing and very cleansing. But at no point does that sentence start to be like the point, that the truth of the cone is the point. No, that's not the point. It just gets you in a state of mind. And this thinking about nothingness does that, because when you're thinking about nothing, it puts you in an interesting part of the mind that's often unexplored. But no, We are not nothingness, and nothingness is not oneness. Cheers.